Well, I'm back after a little bit of an absence, I suppose. Let me get my gears shifted here. My chain went to the other sprocket. I want to talk about a couple of things, both politics and economics. First thing I want to start with is Tucker Carlson. He has created absolute firestorm for doing and having the temerity of exercising his First Amendment rights to free speech and freedom of association, and having somebody on his show that he found interesting doesn't mean he agrees with his views, Nick Fuentes. And the Zionist right has gone apoplectic, and you get assholes like Mark Levin, who oftentimes on his radio show preaches that he has superior knowledge of the Constitution, he's a constitutionalist, and things of that nature. So I paraphrase. But yet he goes to a Jewish organization, Speaks, this past weekend, and sees fit to call Carlson a bigot and to cancel him. You know, where's the respect for when you don't agree with somebody's views? The old saying, I hate what you say, but I'll die for the right for you to say it. That's a constitutionalist. That's somebody that says that above all else, no matter what somebody's views, those views need protected. Why? Because if you agree with everything, the views don't need protected. Or if you disagree, especially if it's the government that disagrees with the views, they need protected. That's our First Amendment to the Constitution. Anyways, so I find it hypocritical and laughable that people like him and Ben Shapiro and everybody else that are Jewish Zionists are calling for Tucker to be canceled. The reason is they're scared shitless of Tucker, because Tucker is unafraid. He's not going to cow down to Zionist control of our media and other aspects of our society, and he just simply wants to get alternate views out there for people to, you know, analyze. The proper response is, if you disagree with what somebody's saying, then launch a superior argument. But they don't want it because they've lost control. Who's they? It's the Neocons. Give me a second here. And most of the Neocons, not all, are Jewish and Zionists. And that's why we had all these wars. As Wesley Clark, ex-general, ex-head of Supreme Commander of NATO, said that after 9/11, he was stunned to find there was already a plan drafted to take out 7 countries in 5 years. Why? To secure Israel's interests. It was the Netanyahu government in power at that time. The Netanyahu government is in power right now. And it's a major problem in this country. So, long story short on Tucker, he did nothing wrong. And unless you think I'm indicting all Jews, I'm not. There's so many good ones that understand what I'm saying and agree with it, like Dave Smith, who just had Tucker on in an interview. But long story short is the days of literal trillions with the T, when you include the war on terror, the Iraq war, fleet deployments, Air Force bases, military bases, etc., plus direct military aid and direct financial aid to Israel, again, in the trillions, is going to end. Now, can I tell you exactly when? No. But I can tell you this, and I'm pretty savvy. I've been a lot of places, including the halls of Congress, including literal bumping into the shoulder of the President of the United States underneath the Congress in the hallways. Many other things I'm not going to get into. That control, the subversive control, just parasitically, of our government and our treasury is going to end. And the start will be when you see the Republicans get their ass whipped. And I'm a Republican. When you see them get their butt whipped in the off-year election here in 26 congressional elections, they've done nothing. Got a moron for a Speaker of the House, Johnson, who's a Christian Zionist. Tucker called out the Christian Zionists. He was wrong to say that he hated them or despised them, but he's right to call out their abject ignorance of the Bible, 1900 years of it prior to the advent of Christian Zionism in the late 1800s, which was done purposely by funding from Jewish Zionists to get huckster Cyrus Schofield, an ex-Confederate officer, attorney in Kansas, who was disbarred, to go to Oxford, England University, before the internet, obviously, 1880s, 1890s, to rewrite the Bible in a way that supported a Jewish homeland. And that's what Christian Zionists believe. You know, you have genocide going on in Palestine, innocent women and children, but yet they don't see fit to ask the simple question, what would Christ do if he was walking the earth at this very moment? What would he say about that? Everybody knows what he would say about that if you're a Christian. But yet they think they have some biblical obligation to support a secular government created by the Rothschilds after World War II, conveniently called Israel. Anyways, I digress. Point being is the Overton window has opened, and the truth is blowing through with gale force right now. And the first domino to fall will be the Republicans in the House in 26, November 26. And you can mark this video because that's what's going to happen. They're going to get their butt handed to them, and rightfully so, because the candidates from either party that run to say, I don't take money from AIPAC, American Israeli Political Affairs Committee, which has bought and controlled almost all the members of Congress on both parties, both sides of the aisle. They say they're not taking that money. They're gonna win. This could be a seminal issue going forward, and it's gonna be interesting to see how it all develops. Changing gears, not on my bike, but here talking economically. I just want to say, I don't know if most people probably do not know what the repo market is. They probably think it's repossessions. There's a thing called the repo market, reverse repo market. It has to do with liquidity overnight in banks. And the Federal Reserve has a window where they can pump money into the banks if there's liquidity problems. In the past week or week and a half, there's been, I'd have to go look, northward of $50 billion with a B dollars pumped in to rescue these banks, mostly smaller regional banks. And that's where the crisis is going to begin, because a lot of them are holding crap debt, commercial backed loans, big buildings, office buildings that have huge vacancy rates. And you're now starting to see the landlords of those buildings default and not make it their payments. And what am I saying? In sum, we have a contagion in the banking system. It's now starting to erupt, and it will continue and get worse. And this is the exact same thing that happened prior to, well, not exact, but similar. The history doesn't always repeat, but it often rhymes, to the 2007-8 crisis and the otherwise termed the Great Financial Crisis. And right before, most people don't know this, right before COVID. COVID was March 2020. But in September 2019, the same shit was going on in a different way in a reverse repo market. And some speculate that the COVID pandemic was a response to reset the system because of all the money that the Fed had to put in to bail out the banks. But I don't know. I tend to disagree with that. But it did happen. Lastly, you got equity markets topping, I think. Lots of people are calling for a bull run into the end of the year, 26 to be, excuse me, negative. But I think it's going to start earlier, because you can see on charts, if you follow technical analysis and stock charts, you can see the resistance levels for different types of pretty reliable patterns. But hold on here. Local Gentry Gardeners out. Sorry, my GoPro keeps going down on these bumps, and I'm not quite sure why. Let me see if I can tighten that up. You're probably looking at pavement or something. But anyways, that's sort of it for now. Other than I would add that housing has already cracked, and it's going to continue to crack, and the sellers that took their houses off the market are going to relist in the selling season starting in March of 26. They're going to be in for a huge rude awakening. It's going to be like shoving 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag, because the sellers are going to be competing with each other in a huge way and having to lower their price to get a sale. And to that measure there, I will say and sign off that I'll try to keep making videos as we get into winter where I'm at. I'll probably do it on snow skis, doing Nordic type cross-country stuff just to get out and get some exercise. But anyways, nice ride today with some cooler temperatures, but sometimes that's nice. Adios.